Welcome to the Naturally Prosperous Woman podcast. I'm your host, Preston, founder of the Akashic Women's School, mentor to new paradigm leaders for over a decade, and teacher of divine prosperity consciousness. This podcast is dedicated to empowering women leaders around the world who desire to tap into their authentic feminine power for more money, magnetism, and, of course, impact. It's a platform for women leaders wanting to embrace their natural abilities to create, lead, and flow, unlocking their inherent potential for prosperity and living in alignment with their truest selves. Because it's your birthright to flourish in the naturalness of the woman you were born to be. Thanks so much for being here. Let's dive in. Hello. Oh my gosh. I am so excited to be here with you. Summer is flying by. I hope that you have taken time to drink it all up. I'm just getting back from a 3-week hiatus, so to speak. Took a trip overseas to Portugal. We've been family camping. It's been so nourishing, and I am so grateful to have had this time with family, really. I know if you're like me, I was just so grateful to get out and move around and experience some travel, especially after isolation, with COVID over the last few years. So wherever you are, hope you're enjoying the summer months. And today I wanted to talk a bit about the art of sacred space. This is actually a topic that's really near and dear to my heart. I toggled a little bit over whether to feature this on the podcast because I sometimes wonder, as I was feeling into this topic, around whether it's deemed as important or not. Because we hear a lot about it. I think we hear a lot more about it. But as I sat with it, I was like, no, this is important. This is important because it's been such a foundation for my own journey. So as some of you know, I would consider myself to have fully stepped onto my sacred path. My daughter turns 14 next week, and she's always been a bit of like a marker of time because she was about a year and a half old when we had moved from the city, from a lot of like the hustle. I was really feeling burnt out, and we made that move into the country, finding this acreage that really no one had lived on for quite a while, and made that journey to the country. So that's where I really fully stepped onto my sacred path, like really listening to my soul's calling. And so here we go. I'm going to start talking about the art of sacred space because there is an art to it. And the art of sacred feminine space, even if you will, takes this a layer deeper. So, whether you're looking at this through the lens of your own personal practice, or you're looking at this through the lens of maybe retreats or group settings, right? Or whether you're creating sacred space to facilitate transformation. Maybe it's through a single session, which I often talk about when I am teaching on the Flower of Life Akashic Healing Method. So it's important and it's powerful, right? And I think we sometimes forget that something so simple, when we have the right ingredients and we really set the stage, can be so powerful. And so just to bring it back to my own story, because everyone is in a different place in their journey, right? Of course. But one of the first things when I made this move from the city, and I can't, I think I've shared bits and pieces of my story on the podcast for sure, but I left my old life. Things were just feeling tight, confined, heavy, outdated. I really wanted something deeper. I was feeling that call to really understand what my purpose was. I was feeling the initiation of motherhood and feeling burnt out from like a lot of pushing, going, just the hustle, right? Just like the grind of, especially living in a city for me. It was a lot for my system. So we finally did make this move, and I was a new mom experiencing burnout. My husband at that time too, he had something going on viral. He had traveled down to Central America and actually got bit by a tick, and it had made him sick for quite a while. So, I was also playing caregiver to a degree. He was doing his master's, and there was a lot going on. But we had decided to make this big move, and we knew we were called to something different. A different quality of life, a life that just felt a lot more connected, a lot more sustainable, and a life that really nourished us on multiple levels. So feeling disconnected is often like a symptom, right? When we push, go, do, when we're in the gridlock of hustle, which is, I would describe as kind of like more of the wounded masculine or toxic masculine quality that we experience in the patriarchal framework of most of society. So how do we reverse that, right? Like, how do we reverse that? How do we find our way back into a place of fullness, into a place of flow, into a place of sustainability, into a place of connection, into a place of realigning our lives to our deeper truth, values, needs, wants, vision, right? Well, it happens through claiming space, right? We have to claim space. And I can't tell you how many women have come to me over the years and they are like, I just feel like there's no space for me. I just feel like I'm so tired all the time. I just feel like I'm going and doing. Like, how do I even create change? And over the years, it's always been to claim space. We claim space, and we do that by the art of creating sacred space. And I'm going to walk you through some of the core ingredients of this. And I'll give you a couple ways to go deeper with this. So some of you may or may not notice too, the Advanced Akashic Women's Guide certification, the doors to the early savings, opens this week with a really beautiful special bonus, limited time. But I'm going to give you some other kind of micro ways that are really powerful to deepen into what I'm sharing here today as well. All right. So claiming space. So for myself in the midst of that journey, in that place, and this is a long time ago now, but this is how I learned. And a lot of this was through self-discovery. Some of this was a little bit, maybe reading an article there, reading an article here. I mean, this was 13 years ago, and there was really not a lot online around a lot of this. But with my curiosity and my connection to the moon cycles, and that had been something that I had connected to and explored since my early 20s, and now I was 30. I had my first child. And so on the new moon and on the full moon, I would set up sacred space and I would weave journaling, maybe art into it. Those were often my two practices, maybe a little bit of, meditation or things like that. But I was starting to claim space. And still to this day, if you're someone who's really, really busy, and this idea of like claiming space, these ingredients for the art of sacred space, and it feels uncomfortable and foreign to do this as like a daily practice or a few times a week, starting with the new moon and the full moon is beautiful. It starts to seed in a new way of being, and it actually starts to help us build a little bit of rhythm quite naturally. If you do this for a few months, it's going to build a muscle. There's going to be some deepening and some connection. There's going to be some clarity and some awareness, right? Where you can start to take the connection and the essence of that back out into the world a little bit, right? But it can be a beautiful start. So way back then, right, I would often, light a candle, have some beautiful sacred objects, and I would journal, right? I would really journal out, and I would journal out, what wasn't working for me, right? What my frustrations were, what was angering me or upsetting me. And I would kind of follow the layers a little bit more deeply too, and really start to clarify, well, where do I want to create change and what would change look like? And I would often use that space to integrate some creativity. And at that time I was like obsessed with mandalas. That was like a big thing for me. And I would draw mandalas and paint mandalas, and maybe sometimes I would color mandalas, but there was something very centering about it. And I really wanted to work on opening up creative flow in my sacred space. So let's talk a little bit about the art of sacred space. This is the art of sacred space is what takes us out of the mundane, what takes us out of the ordinary. We can bend time and space when we can create sacred space, right? We can actually alter it. We move into a different energy, a different level of awareness. We gain access to our subconscious when we drop into sacred space. So the ingredients of sacred space is often that there is an element of intention, right? Like an element of intention. What is the intention behind the sacred space? Is it healing? Is it activation? Is it to invigorate? Is it self-connection? Is it inspiration, right? We can start to look at what is the intention of creating and claiming sacred space. We also want it to feel safe. We want it to feel beautiful. We want to weave in sacred objects. And you want to have a candle. The candle is everything. And the candle intrinsically represents the 4 elements. It's one of the easiest ways to weave in the 4 elements, right? So there's this sense of intention, of ritual, right? Of weaving in these sacred objects. And then this element of often prayer. So whatever prayer looks like to you, and I have a lot of really beautiful, simple prayers. You can write out your own prayer. There's prayers that I often work with that are very, very simple, right? And prayer is such a beautiful way, like the actual act of ritual. Every time you sit down in this space that is just for you, the actual act of like lighting a candle, it actually signals to the subconscious that you're shifting from more of a linear view, a linear way of interpreting your experience, right? To tapping into more of that subconscious right brain part of you that starts to access a different layer of your wisdom. So this idea of working with intention, lighting a candle, prayer, having sacred objects from nature, crystals, whatever connects you to sacredness, to holiness, to beauty, right? And you take those objects and you arrange them in front of you, right? And it's through this energy of intention, of prayer, of sacred objects and weaving in elements of beauty that we start to drop in, right? We start to open up space for this connection to essence and spirit, right? Where the holiness and the sacredness of our essence can dance and mingle with something so much deeper and also something so much higher, right? It's such a key foundation or even like a portal to accessing our soul. And so if it feels unfamiliar or uncomfortable, again, a beautiful place to start is the new moon and the full moon, right? We want to be able to start to become familiar with this sense of connection to ourself, to spirit. And when we have these ingredients for sacred space, there's an element of safety. All of a sudden, we've set the space that allows us to let go, that allows us to detach for just a little bit, right? It allows us to drop in. It allows us to feel held, right? With all of these magical ingredients, right? And then we can let go. We can let go. Our essence can drop in. We can listen a little bit more deeply. Our system experiences this sense of being soothed. And so I want to invite you, if this is something that's new to you, then I would love to invite you to explore what this might look like to you. I'm going to give you a couple of resources. And, this is the kind of space when we understand how to work with the magical ingredients of creating sacred space, right? We can lean back. We can start to understand the importance of being, right, over just doing and hustle, right? We can start to tap into deeper clarity, right? And then the way to a different experience of ourselves, our divinity, and our lives can open from that place, right? Because it begins to come through that deeper connection to essence. And the way that we do that is by creating, by this art of sacred space. And again, it's very feminine in nature because it allows us to drop in, to go within, right? To travel the spiral within, to lean back, to receive, even if it's, receiving wisdom from your heart self or your higher self, or receiving wisdom from spirit to guide your path. Right? It's a beautiful, clear space of connection. And it's one of the most powerful ways to begin to carve our own authentic path and to actually start to do a deeper journey into intimacy, our relationship with ourselves, and into sovereignty. Right? When we start to go deeper and deeper into the root system of who we are, by coming home to ourselves over and over and over again, we get to define and redefine our relationship to ourselves, the creative power that we have within to create life on our terms. And also we get to define and redefine how we exist within our relationships. So it is very, very powerful. So again, whether this is something that you're doing for yourself, right? This is something that often I talk about as a facilitator, how to create sacred space on behalf of our clients, right? So they feel held, so they can go deeper, so that they can feel held. There is an importance to it. There is a power to it. It should be simple. And often the most challenging aspect is giving ourselves permission to feel held in this way, whether it's by a facilitator who is holding that sacred space on our behalf, or whether it's the sacred space that we're creating for ourselves, right? It's a permission to claim that space, to take the time to honor you, right? To listen more deeply, to allow your spirit and spirit to work through you, right? To bring your life into alignment with your deeper divinity and authentic self. So if this is speaking to you right now, we have the 21-day Akashic journaling practice just started. The 21-day Akashic journaling challenge just started. You can hop in though and get started wherever you're at. I'm going to keep the group open and we're going to keep it going. You can jump in now and start your 21-day journey whenever you're ready. We've got weekly activations happening in there now. You get a beautiful Akashic opening prayer audio as well as a 21-day journal. So there's that. I'm going to post the link below for the landing page if you want to explore that. It's like such a beautiful, beautiful, life-changing way of creating daily sacred space while working with the Akashic field to receive deep body wisdom insights, spirit insights, essence insights while working in the Akashic field to realign your life, right, to a deeper truth, to a deeper calling. The free gift is the Radiant Morning Power Hour. That's a really simple way to start creating sacred space. And this is more of a daily morning practice. So as I was saying, for me, I started, during the new moon and the full moon. But over time, I took that practice and I deepened into it. And I used to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And now it's like Monday to Friday. Even if it's a short interval of time, I'm still taking time to create that sacred space, to come home to myself, to listen, right? To drop into beauty, right? To stay connected. So, this just the essence of ritual and self-devotion and self-connection and listening and receptivity and being are all very, very beautiful feminine energetic qualities that allow us to start to shape our life in alignment with a much more sustainable way of being, right? Where we can really start to untangle and untangle and dismantle a lot of those patriarchal push, go, do, hustle patterns that can be really challenging to unravel, but it can be done, right? The soul is so, so powerful. And finally, if you're interested in the art of sacred space holding from more of a feminine lens, you might want to check out the Advanced Akashic Women's Guide certification. The early savings, the doors to the early savings are opening soon. We don't begin until September 21st with a beautiful opening ceremony. This Advanced Akashic Women's certification pathway is both for personal transformation, right? And a certification pathway that will definitely support the next evolution of how you facilitate soul level embodied transformation on behalf of your clients as well. This is a 6-month pathway. This program's 4 years running. And I would love to connect with you if this feels like something that's speaking to your heart and your soul. I'm going to leave the link for the landing page below as well. And if you want to reach out, you can absolutely do that, tara@tarapreston.com, or book a 30-minute consult, free consult on the landing page. And we can deepen into whether this pathway is right for you at this time. I'm sending you all so much love. Thanks for being here. And as always, take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Hello, friend. Thanks for joining us this week. If you'd like to stay in touch, head on over to the Akashic Women's Community on Facebook group. Come share your takeaways, your insights, your reflections. I would absolutely love to hear. If you'd like to deepen into any part of this work, head on over to the akashicwomenschool.com/free-gift and grab the Akashic Radiant Womb Awakening and Clearing Morning Practice to start to sink into your feminine power. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.